Jesus Christ. Alright guys, I am back with my review of this week's TNA Impact Wrestling for August 1st, 2013. We got the big August 1st warning, so obviously. But anyways, I am seconds into this show and I had to pause it to make this video. Taz is trying to get inside the building. He can't get in because Atlas security is there. So he gets pissed off, he turns his hat around backwards. And he's like, you know what, you guys, Tony from Atlas, I'm going to have you guys fired. You're going to be working at a pizzeria in Brooklyn somewhere. I'm going to make a phone call. I guess he's calling Joey Numbers. And blah, blah, blah. Why is this guy still employed by TNA Wrestling? Seriously, if they're making all these budget cuts and they have to save money, why the fuck does Taz still have a job? He is the most useless person on the TNA roster, period. It's completely ridiculous. I couldn't believe what I just saw. So I'm hoping the rest of the show is better than this crap. But yeah, Taz, are they trying to explain why he's been gone? And we're supposed to believe that security has kept him out of the building or some shit for these past couple weeks. Because in reality, he asked for the night off. Bruce Pritchard gave him the night off and didn't tell anybody, so everybody was surprised, like, where the fuck is Taz? When you work 1 day a week, not even 1 day a week, I think Taz works 1 day every 2 weeks, why the hell do you need a night off? I have no words. Taz is a lazy piece of shit. He should not have a job, period. But of course, Dixie Carter is a moron. She's already got Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, a bunch of other useless people on payroll. Why not keep Taz in the loop? So this was completely just absurd, but I had to pause it just to make this short rant. Alright, so Austin Aries comes out. He talks for a very long time. He says he wants to win the BFG series. Bobby Roode comes out. He says he wants to win the BFG series. Except Bobby Roode has some really cheesy lines. He says something about how you're going to learn that, or actually he starts off by saying, you want to talk about dreams, let's start talking about nightmares. And then he says you're going to learn that it pays to be rude. And Austin Aries is like, well, you say you're the it factor, more like the spit factor. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. This sucked ass. And now I'm about to watch a Hernandez match. Oh boy. Alright, so it's Bobby Roode versus Hernandez. And they have a match, I guess. I don't really care about this. But Bobby Roode gets frustrated and starts throwing a bunch of chairs into the ring. So the referee's like, Roode, you can't be bringing chairs in. You're going to get disqualified. So the ref starts throwing the chairs out. And while he's doing that, Bobby Roode grabs a beer bottle and hits Hernandez in the head. There's glass all over the fucking ring. So the ref counts 3, ignores the broken glass, and then he sees it and he's like, hey, what the hell's this? And Bobby Roode says, I don't know, a fan threw it in or some shit. And the ref just says, okay, and raises his hand anyway. This was completely ridiculous. But I am actually going to a TNA show. August 17th, they're coming to Asheville. And if you pay $65, I guess you get pretty good seats. You can go to a meet and greet, meet some of the wrestlers. I think Austin Aries is going to be there, Bobby Roode, James Storm, Jeff Hardy, guys like that. So I'm thinking about doing that because $65 is probably what you would spend on a ticket plus getting some autographs anyway. So I'm actually thinking about doing that. And if you go to the Facebook page, which will be in the description box, I'm going to post the pictures from the TNA show on the Facebook page. So check that out. But yeah, this Hernandez-Bobby Roode match. I guess Bobby Roode wins. Broken glass and all. Alright, so Eric Young is training Joseph Park. And he gives him some type of package for his match later. And I thought all of this was pretty good. I like Eric Young. I think he's a really talented wrestler. It sucks TNA booked him like shit, but he's got his own TV show. He can go off and do better things than TNA wrestling. So anyways, I thought this was good. Then we see Chris Sabin come up to Manic, or TJ Perkins. And it shows TJ from behind. Like it doesn't want to show his face, even though we've already fucking seen his face. And Sabin says, I want to congratulate you on your victory. You're the first person I want to have a match with. It was really cheesy because it was just so scripted. It was like line for line what Sabin said here. And I don't know what's up with Sabin. He always looks like he just fucking smelled a fart. Like, always. But TJ Perkins says, he says something and Chris Sabin's like, alright, we'll have the match later. And I was talking to a friend of mine on YouTube, Solex, and he brought up a good point. They're trying to make everybody think that TJ Perkins has always been suicide or manic, which is not the case. Christopher Daniels worked as manic. Kazarian has worked as manic. I think a Japanese wrestler, and then you have Austin Aries. Other people have done this character before, but they want us to think that it's always been TJ Perkins. And the logic is flawed because TJ was working in Japan for a lot of Suicide's matches. So it's impossible for him to have been Suicide all this time. But you know, a lot of fans won't even know that. So it's not really a big deal. But I thought it was an interesting point because I knew that TJ Perkins was not Suicide. I mean, he was just brought in recently. But it was funny that TNA tries to claim he's always been Suicide. But anyways, that's besides the point. So, yeah, those two segments, I didn't care for the Chris Sabin segment, but I did like Eric Young and Joseph Park, which is surprising because that's the goofy comedy shit. So we get Jay Bradley versus Joseph Park. And Eric Young's big present for Joseph Park is headgear. So they work the match. Joseph Park is wearing headgear. They do some comedy spots. And Joseph Park ends up winning with a Samoan drop. And what sucks about this is Jay Bradley is actually talented. I know a lot of people don't like Jay Bradley, but you can't go off of what you've seen in TNA wrestling. The guy's actually not bad in the ring, and he's decent on the mic. And I personally think he could be a big star like Austin Aries if given the chance. But TNA is not going to do that. Instead, they bring him in to job to Joseph Park with a Samoan drop of all things. So this was completely ridiculous to me. Just a huge waste of talent. Instead, they're going to push a guy who's solely based off of comedy. And this sucked, I thought. But yeah, I really think Jay Bradley could be a huge star for TNA wrestling if given the chance. And then they show this video with Rampage Jackson about saving wrestling, which I'm definitely behind. I've said before in some of my videos that I think it really sucks they're trying to take wrestling out of the Olympics. They have so many other just bullshit sports they could take out, but they're going for wrestling, which I think is one of the purest sports out there. I mean, it's just two guys going at it. It's based on weight, and it's got to be one of the earliest sports ever in the Olympics. So I really hope that when they go to this whole vote thing in September that they vote to keep wrestling in the Olympics. Alright, so we see the main event Mafia, and they're talking about the aces and eights or something like that, and honestly this main event Mafia just sucks. Rampage Jackson is their heavy hitter, and it's a guy who can't even wrestle. He was the big surprise. Rampage Jackson is part of the main event Mafia. He can't wrestle. He does his best to try to cut promos, but they suck too. So this is just, I mean, it's nothing. Who's really excited about this main event Mafia? Now that they've all been revealed, who really cares about this? So then we get Sabin versus Manic. They have a good match. Sabin didn't really get the best reaction when he came out. I like Sabin, but that's the truth. People didn't really seem to care, and it's also weird that the World Heavyweight Champion is wrestling at this point of the show, and not the main event, nothing like that, but the first hour, the champion's wrestling. So that's not doing him any favors. But Sabin wins with the driver. Bully Ray comes out. He tries to beat down Sabin. Sabin fights him off, hits an enziguri, and it wasn't really believable to me the way Sabin fought him off. So I didn't really care for that, but Sabin did have a good match with Manic. Then we see Taz, who is outside the building in front of a white stretch Hummer. And it's supposed to have the August 1st guy in it. So Taz is pissed off that Hogan won't let him in the building to do his job. So what he's going to do is expose the August 1st person. He's going to go ahead and reveal who it is. Why this would get back at Hogan is beyond me. This guy has been saying he doesn't work for TNA. He's not part of Impact Wrestling or Spike TV or anything. So I don't know how this pertains to Hogan. But Taz opens the door and it's a computer playing another August 1st video. So that was pretty much it. So we get Gail Kim versus ODB, and they had a decent match. I thought this was pretty good. However, they went to a double count-out finish. Gail Kim throws ODB into the steps, and they start fighting. And they both get counted out, and then they continue brawling, so this feud's going to continue. Then we see AJ Styles talking about this dream match with Austin Aries, how he doesn't care about that anymore. He doesn't care about dreams. He just wants the world title. And then they show that King Mo won some fight in Bellator. I don't know why they even bring this guy up. I mean, it's obvious they're doing the plug for Bellator. But yeah, the whole King Mo thing didn't really work out. He was just like another fighter they brought in who they couldn't use because he's not a wrestler. So, big surprise. So the Aces and Eights are talking backstage, and Brooke Hogan comes up to Bully Ray, and she says something about he won't give her the divorce, but he's got this big contract signing next week, and she can make things really tough for him or something like that. I guess because Brooke Hogan got engaged in real life, it kind of put the kibosh in the whole Brooke Hogan still being in love with Bully Ray, and they're really in cahoots this entire time or something. I think they're just going to go ahead and end things with Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan. But then we get AJ Styles versus Austin Aries, and it was a really good match. I didn't really care for the finish, but one thing that's disappointing about this is they bring AJ Styles in as this new dark character. And a lot of people thought he was going to go on to defeat the Aces and Eights or something big happening with AJ Styles. And now it just feels like he's just another guy. Like everybody else, I mean, nothing really special about him. He's got the special entrance, he's got the darker character, but he's still just a regular guy on the roster. I mean, it's not like he's undefeated or anything, he's just there. But they did have a good match, a lot of great spots here. Aries backdrops AJ Styles off the ramp onto the floor. AJ kicks out of the Brain Buster, a lot of back and forth. And eventually they just start fighting. They're giving each other everything they got. AJ hits the Pele. Both guys go down. And then Austin Aries, his arm is on AJ Styles, and he takes AJ's arm and puts it on himself. And then the ref is counting 3, and Aries gets up at the last second. So Austin Aries wins the match, but the finish was like, what? What the hell was that? So I didn't really care for that at all. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea, and it really hurt that Aries had to put AJ's arm on himself. But yeah, so it was a good match, though. Wow. So the Main Event Mafia comes out, and they have an offer for the Aces and Eights, an offer they can't refuse. And they want to have a 5-on-5 match at the August 15th show, the Hardcore Justice show, where whoever gets pinned has to leave TNA for good. So the Aces and Eights come out, and they all start brawling. Aces and Eights have to retreat. Anderson grabs a microphone and says, "We accept the challenge." I don't know who's going to leave TNA. I would assume Mike Knox or Wes Briscoe, somebody like that. But I mean, it's not going to be a big deal if one of those guys goes. So I don't know if TNA is going to try and pick a bigger name just because it's going to mean more, or if they're just going to do this to get rid of another Aces and Eights member. And this is slowly going to end the entire Aces and Eights angle. But anyways, they're all looking at each other, and then Tito Ortiz comes out. He's the August 1st warning. So we get yet another fighter who can't wrestle. And he just comes out, and he stands there like this, and everybody looks at each other, and it shows Tito, and it shows everybody looking at each other. And this was just, I was laughing because I couldn't, like, what was everybody doing? So he just stands there for a really long time, and the show goes off the air. So the big surprise was Tito Ortiz, and I know I said I thought it would be Hardcore Holly because silly me, I thought it might actually be a fucking wrestler. But no, it's another fighter, and I'm not saying Hardcore Holly would have been the greatest thing to happen to TNA Wrestling, but at least he can wrestle. Tito Ortiz cannot wrestle, so what is the purpose of this? You tried with King Mo, you got Rampage Jackson, who is terrible, his facial expressions, he tries to look surprised, he's not good, and now you got Tito Ortiz out there. I mean, it's like, what am I watching anymore? Is this MMA or wrestling? So I don't know what to say about this. This is just, I don't think it's going to be good. Maybe it'll create some buzz. I doubt it. I don't think the ratings are going to improve because of this. And even though Tito Ortiz was a big name in MMA, he's not anymore. So, I mean, who's going to get excited about this? But yeah, it just, this whole show overall, I really didn't care about it. You had AJ Styles versus Austin Aries in a good match with a bad finish, and that's really the only thing positive I can say about this show. So I didn't really care for this week's Impact Wrestling. But anyways, that's my review. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on this week's show in the comments, and thanks for watching.